Most people are not mentally tired because their brain is overworked. They're tired because their energy is scattered, blocked, or simply draining through habits and systems they don't even know they're running. This isn't about intelligence. It's not about discipline. It's not about motivation. It's about energy, real, tangible, measurable mental energy that fuels thought, awareness, and clarity. And yet, very few people understand how their energy actually works. There's a persistent myth that the concept of energy is vague or mystical. That if someone talks about energy in the mind or body, it must belong to the realm of New Age thinking or ancient spiritual language that doesn't hold up in real life. That's false. Today, neuroscience is validating ideas that have been around for thousands of years. Concepts that once lived in old scriptures or hidden Eastern disciplines are now being translated into language involving the nervous system, electromagnetic fields, quantum coherence, and brainwave regulation. But most people never hear about it, because the noise of everyday life keeps them stuck in reaction mode. Waking up with stress already in motion, jumping from one task to another, hoping that productivity hacks or digital tools will somehow fix the fatigue they carry in their head. Here's what no one told you. Your attention is energy. Your breath is energy. Your thought patterns are energy. Your frequency, the overall emotional tone of your mind, is energy. Your focus is the channel that directs all of it. These are not abstract concepts. They're functional. They determine how much clarity, presence, and power you can access at any moment. And the reason most people feel stuck is because they've never been taught how to use these systems properly. In this video, you're going to learn 8 techniques that expose the true power of your internal energy systems. Not theories, not feel-good affirmations, practical tools. Some rooted in science, others in disciplines that have stood the test of time. Each one of these methods targets a different way your energy might be blocked, misused, or wasted. They don't require belief. They require attention. Because once you feel the shift in your own system, the results speak for themselves. You'll learn how mental energy leaks are costing you clarity. You'll correct the way your breath affects your brain. You'll use thought timing to shift mental states. You'll activate energy first thing in the morning. You'll correct how visualization is misunderstood. You'll access the gut-brain link that most people ignore. You'll use sound to shift mental states instantly. And you'll finish with a powerful technique that rebuilds identity through energy alignment in under a minute. These are not routines that take hours. Most take less than 5 minutes. But the shift they create, when practiced consistently, is powerful enough to reset your entire mental baseline. This isn't a trick. It's not a trend. It's the foundation you should have been given when you were young but never received. Let's begin where most people lose energy without knowing it. Not through lack of sleep or stress, but through something quieter and far more common. The energy leak you never knew was draining your focus. Every day you make hundreds of small decisions. Some are conscious, many are not. What you don't realize is that every time your mind opens a new loop, starts a thought, wonders about a task, fixates on a worry, it creates an energetic hook. These hooks pull on your attention. They don't let go easily. And even when you think you've moved on, part of your mental energy is still tethered to whatever started that loop. It's easy to mistake this for being busy, but there's a difference between active thought and mental clutter. The latter burns energy without direction. It creates the feeling that your brain is always on, even when you're doing nothing important. You've probably experienced this without realizing it. Sitting at your desk, trying to work, but jumping between tabs on your screen and tabs in your mind. A thought about a message you forgot to answer. A reminder of a bill you didn't pay. A conversation from last week that didn't sit right. One by one, each of these thoughts grabs part of your energy and holds on to it. The result is a brain that feels like it's always in motion but never gaining ground. You finish the day tired, but not fulfilled. You feel like you've been thinking constantly, but you don't remember half of what passed through your mind. This is what an open loop feels like. It's invisible, but it drains you. Now, here's the truth. Your mind is not designed to hold hundreds of unresolved threads at once. It's built to complete cycles. When a thought has closure, the mind lets it go. When it doesn't, it keeps it alive. It doesn't matter how small the thought is. If your system sees it as unfinished, it stays active. This is where energetic sealing comes in. The goal is not to finish every task, solve every problem, or make every decision immediately. The goal is to acknowledge the loop and give your mind permission to let it go, at least for now. Here's how it works. You pause. You ask yourself silently, what's still open? You don't rush the answer. You let your mind show you. Thoughts begin to surface. Some feel big. Others feel small. You don't judge them. You don't solve them. You respond to each one by either confirming it's complete, postponing it with clarity, or letting it go entirely. Each time you do this, you're not just thinking. You're reclaiming energy. You're telling your mind, this is not your job right now. That single decision shifts the flow of your attention. This process becomes more powerful with repetition. Doing it once brings relief. Doing it daily sharpens focus. You begin to notice how many thoughts you were carrying without reason. You become more selective about what enters your field. And that's the key. Attention is not just focus. Attention is currency. Every moment you spend thinking about something without intention, you are paying in energy. When you reclaim that attention, your energy rises. It's not about silence. It's about alignment. It's about reducing background noise so that the thoughts that do matter, the ones that are clear, relevant, and powerful, can rise to the top without fighting through static. This technique also trains discipline. Not the kind of discipline that pushes or forces. The kind that refines. You stop indulging in thought patterns that don't serve you. You stop replaying conversations that are already over. You stop trying to solve problems at 2 a.m. that don't need solutions until 2 p.m. The result is sharpness, mental clarity, emotional balance, and a mind that starts to feel like a powerful tool again, not a broken record on repeat. This is one of the most overlooked practices for restoring focus. And yet it costs nothing, takes less than 5 minutes, and it creates an immediate shift in how your brain uses its own energy. This is the first reset, one that clears the path, one that helps you feel your energy not as an idea, but as a real force you can work with. The next piece builds on that foundation. It addresses something you've been doing every minute of your life, without realizing how much it influences your energy. Your breath is lying to you. Here's how to rewire it. Breathing is automatic until it starts sabotaging your brain power. Breathing is the most constant action your body takes. It happens whether you're thinking about it or not. And because it's automatic, most people assume it doesn't need attention. But that assumption is costing them energy. A lot of it. Your breath is one of the most powerful switches in your nervous system. It influences your heart rate, your brainwave activity, your focus, your emotions, and even your ability to stay present. But here's the problem. Most people breathe in a way that signals stress to the brain, even when there's no stress present. This pattern starts early. For many, it becomes a baseline. Shallow breathing, upper chest expansion, irregular rhythm. These habits might feel normal, but they signal to your system that you are in a reactive state, that something is wrong, that you need to be on guard. And when your body receives that signal, it shifts. Your sympathetic nervous system becomes more active. That's your fight or flight mode. Your mind becomes more scattered. Your energy becomes fragmented. Your ability to think clearly narrows. This doesn't only affect moments of tension. It affects your default state. Your breath might be tricking your brain into thinking you're constantly under pressure, even when you're not. And that false signal quietly wears down your energy reserves. You start relying on stimulants to push through. You feel exhausted after tasks that used to feel easy. You notice tension in your shoulders, your jaw, your forehead, but you can't trace the cause. The cause is in the background, built into the breath pattern you've adopted without realizing it. Here's the truth most people miss. Proper breathing is not just about oxygen. It's about rhythm. It's about signal. When your breath moves in a healthy pattern, it tells your brain you are safe, that you're centered, that you can use your full mental capacity instead of just reacting to threats. This is where the reset begins. There is a breathing technique, simple, fast, and precise, that has been used in both ancient yogic disciplines and modern vagus nerve stimulation research. It's not about deep breathing in the generic sense. It's about three things: expanding the breath down instead of up, controlling the pace, and holding presence during the exhale. When done correctly, this technique pulls you out of the stress cycle. It resets your nervous system, and more importantly, it sharpens your focus without using force. Here's how it works. Step 1. Breathe into your lower abdomen, not your chest, not your shoulders. You should see movement around the navel, not the ribs. This engages your diaphragm properly and sends a calming signal to your nervous system. Step 2. Slow the inhale slightly, then pause. Not a forced hold, just a brief stillness. This stillness tells your brain to stop racing forward, to be here, to reset timing. Step 3. Let the exhale be slightly longer than the inhale. Don't push the air out. Let it flow smoothly. The extended exhale activates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the system responsible for rest, clarity, and regeneration. When this sequence is repeated, even for 2 minutes, you can feel a measurable change in how your mind is operating. The noise fades, the internal pressure reduces, and your energy stops leaking through mental tension. This method has been confirmed by studies on vagus nerve activation. When you breathe in this controlled rhythm, the vagus nerve, which runs from your brainstem through your body, sends a message back to the brain that the environment is stable. That message calms the mind. It restores function to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for complex thought, focus, and decision-making. But here's the key. This isn't just a calming exercise. It's an energy reset. Most people try to concentrate through tension. They clench their jaw, narrow their focus, push harder. But that tension actually creates friction in the system. It drains energy instead of focusing it. When your breath pattern stays locked in stress mode, your mind gets stuck in short-term loops. Your creativity drops. Your memory shortens. Your energy dips by midday. That's the lie your breath tells you. That stress is the default. That shallow breathing is normal. That focus only comes with effort and force. When you correct the pattern, your system recalibrates. You don't just feel more relaxed. You become more functional. You recover energy that was previously wasted through constant low-grade stress signals. You think more clearly, not because you're trying harder, but because you've removed the resistance that was blocking clarity in the first place. This isn't about mindfulness. It's about mechanism. The breath is the only part of your autonomic nervous system you can control directly. That makes it a bridge between conscious choice and unconscious function. When you change the breath, you change the signals being sent through your entire system. And once you train this pattern into your body, it becomes your new default. You stop slipping into panic breathing when you're under pressure. You stop reacting with shallow breaths when you get bad news. You stop unconsciously speeding up your breath when you're overwhelmed. This shift doesn't take months. It takes consistency. Practice the 3-part breath pattern 2 or 3 times per day. Morning, midday, and evening. Not for 30 minutes. Not even 10. Just 2 minutes per session. That's enough to retrain the signal. You will notice changes within a few days. Deeper sleep. Lower resting tension. Sharper awareness. Less emotional reactivity. Your energy will last longer. Your ability to stay focused will increase. And the biggest change will be subtle but powerful. You'll stop running your mind through static. Because that's what poor breath control creates. Static. Noise. Background stress that colors every thought. When that noise is gone, your signal becomes clear. This is the real role of breath. Not just survival. Not just relaxation. It's an energy tool. A control panel. And it's the one switch most people never learn to use. When you rewire your breath, you're not just calming yourself. You're unlocking capacity. And the best part is no equipment is needed. No belief is needed. Just 2 minutes. Awareness. And repetition. That's the second key. The next one will show you how to direct energy through thought. Not over hours, but in under 20 seconds. The 17-second rule that alters your mental frequency. Just 17 seconds could shift the trajectory of your thoughts. No crystals required. Every thought you think sets a tone, and that tone either builds energy or drains it. The problem is, most people don't stay with a single thought long enough for it to change anything. Their attention jumps. Their focus fragments. Their inner state reflects that fragmentation. The mind becomes noisy. Thoughts become repetitive. And instead of gaining momentum toward clarity, the brain loops in stale patterns that recycle old emotions and old results. The mind loves rhythm. It responds to repetition. But most people let this happen by accident. They rehearse stress. They repeat fears. They loop through doubt. They replay negative scenes over and over without knowing that every time they do, they strengthen those neural connections. They reinforce those emotional frequencies. This is where the 17-second principle becomes so powerful. This method is based on a very simple truth. When you hold a thought for just over 15 seconds, especially a focused one, it begins to gather momentum. Not just conceptually, but neurologically. You start to shift the dominant frequency of your mental state. That shift changes your chemistry. It adjusts your baseline emotion. And it can happen faster than most people believe. This idea gained popularity through simplified teachings, but underneath that surface is a process that aligns with what we know about how the brain fires and wires. Sustained attention causes repetition. Repetition creates reinforcement. And reinforcement shapes your dominant state of mind. Here's what that means practically. The thoughts you entertain for longer than a few seconds begin to shape your reality. Not in a metaphysical sense, but in a mental trajectory sense. They influence what you notice. They affect what you expect. They frame what you allow yourself to feel. Now here's the challenge. Most people can't stay with a single positive thought for more than 5 seconds without interrupting it. They qualify it, doubt it, distract themselves, or shift to something safer or more familiar. And that interruption kills the signal. The 17-second rule works because it's just long enough to start building momentum without requiring extreme effort. It's accessible. It's fast. But it has to be done with focus. Here's how to apply it. You bring one thought to mind. Could be an outcome you're aiming for, a mental state you want to feel, a moment of clarity you want to amplify. The key is to pick something that already feels good, not something you're trying to force. Then you stay with it. No jumping around. No counter-arguments. No explanations. Just stay with it. You don't need to chant it or say it out loud. Just hold it mentally, clearly, without resistance. You do this for 17 seconds. That's it. At around the 10-second mark, you'll feel a small shift. That's your nervous system adjusting. Your breath may deepen. Your shoulders may drop slightly. Your mind will start to quiet. And by the time you reach 17 seconds, you've already started to condition your system into a new frequency. This is not affirmation. This is not fantasy. It's neural priming. You're creating a cluster of neurons that fire together long enough to begin forming a pattern. Now, if you stack another 17 seconds onto that same thought, it strengthens. Stack another, and the signal gets stronger. By the time you've stayed with one mental emotional focus for just over a minute, you've started to change your dominant brain chemistry for that moment. This is one of the fastest ways to shift from anxiety to clarity. From frustration to power. From mental fatigue to alertness. Not by pushing, but by aligning with a frequency that feels coherent. Most of the time, when people feel stuck, it's not because they're thinking too much. It's because they're switching too fast. Their mind is bouncing between thoughts without any momentum being built. No single thought ever gets strong enough to carry them forward. This 17-second focus technique interrupts that scatter. It brings coherence. And that coherence starts to inform your emotions, your choices, and even your physiology. When you practice this consistently, you start to notice how quickly your state can change. You stop believing that your mood is fixed. You stop accepting mental fog as normal. You stop giving power to thoughts that don't deserve your energy. The brain becomes more disciplined, more responsive. Your attention becomes a tool, not a burden. And the more you repeat this habit, multiple times a day, the more you shift your baseline frequency. You begin to notice more ideas that match clarity. You notice more opportunities that match focus. You experience less resistance when trying to take action. That's the power of thought frequency, not in a mystical sense, but in a practical one. You're simply steering your inner world in a direction that creates less static and more signal. This is where focus stacking comes into play. Once you get comfortable with holding one clear thought for 17 seconds, you can begin linking thoughts. This is how you create momentum. You start with one thought that already feels good. Once it's stable, you add another thought that supports it. Then another. Each one must be emotionally consistent. You don't jump from excitement to fear. You stay aligned. You stay steady. Within 60 to 90 seconds, you've built an internal chain reaction. One that starts to override old loops. One that tunes your system to a higher state. One that uses your energy wisely instead of wasting it on thought patterns that collapse in on themselves. Focus stacking trains your attention to work for you, not just to manage tasks, but to influence your inner environment. And that influence becomes your experience. Again, this doesn't take hours. This isn't a morning routine. This is something you can do while standing in line, sitting in your car, walking between meetings, or lying in bed. It's quiet. It's internal, but it's powerful. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Your brain starts to prefer clarity over chaos. Your nervous system starts to default to calm over panic. Your thoughts start to support your energy instead of draining it. This is not about fake positivity. It's not about pretending everything is fine. It's about building mental stamina. The kind that allows you to stay with a useful thought long enough to feel its effect, and to use that effect as fuel. The 17-second rule is short, but it works, because it doesn't fight the brain's wiring. It works with it. It uses time, rhythm, and emotion to create a shift. And once you feel that shift, even once, you start to realize how much of your energy has been wasted on mental noise that never needed to be there. The next method builds on this by addressing the very first moment you wake up, when your energy blueprint for the day is formed, whether you know it or not. How to hack your morning energy with one mental move. Before you even get out of bed, your brain sets the energy tone for the day. Here's how to flip it. The moment you wake up, your mind doesn't wait for your permission. It starts running. Without conscious input, it loads the last known state you left it in. Unfinished thoughts, unresolved tension, automatic worries. Most people open their eyes and immediately slip into mental autopilot. And that autopilot has already chosen what kind of energy will dominate the next 12 to 16 hours. That's the real danger of mornings. Not fatigue, not time, but the fact that energy patterns are set early, and once they're in motion, they build momentum, good or bad. Most people never question this. They think they just need coffee or more sleep. But the issue goes deeper. It's not just biological. It's mental architecture. It's how your brain loads its first frame of reference. And that first frame matters. It sets your tone, programs your focus. It anchors your emotions. If your brain wakes up into default negativity, scattered thoughts, or passive stress, then your actions, your posture, your decisions, they all follow that line. You don't feel in control. You're responding to a script that was already running before you were even fully awake. That's why this reset matters. There is a single mental move that changes your entire morning energy blueprint. It doesn't take discipline. It doesn't require you to leap out of bed and conquer the world. It just needs awareness, direction, and consistency. It's called ignition. Ignition is the conscious creation of your first mental signal. It's not a motivational speech. It's not a productivity ritual. It's a choice, a precise, intentional signal you send to your mind before it drifts into its usual programming. And when that signal is strong, it becomes the lens for your energy the rest of the day. Let's get clear on why this works. Your brain wakes up in a state that is highly receptive to suggestion. Alpha brainwaves dominate the transition from sleep to waking consciousness. That means your mind is in a primed, impressionable mode. What you think in those first few moments becomes much more than just thought. It becomes command. This is why grabbing your phone first thing can wreck your energy. It injects chaos into that sensitive alpha state. News, messages, notifications, all of it trains your system to react before it's even fully conscious. And if that becomes routine, then your energy will always start from the outside in instead of the inside out. The alternative is simple. Before reaching for anything, give your mind a directive. One clear phrase or image. It must be specific. It must be emotionally grounded. And it must create a feeling of centered activation. Not hype, not pressure, just alignment. Here's how to find it. You identify a phrase or mental image that embodies the energy you want to carry into your day. Not just a goal, a tone. Something like, I move through today with precision, or I keep my focus clean, or this day responds to my clarity. Whatever the phrase is, it must be true to your own voice, not borrowed from quotes, not inflated but clear and real. Then you anchor it. The moment you wake up, eyes still closed, you bring this phrase or image to mind. You say it internally. You don't rush it. You let it land. You breathe with it for a few seconds. You allow your system to feel what it means. What you're doing in this moment is critical. You are beating the default pattern. You're replacing passive loading with intentional signal. That shift is not symbolic. It's neurological. You are activating prefrontal engagement before the old loops can take over. You are tuning your mental frequency before the static has a chance to come online. Do this consistently, and you start to notice major changes. You stop starting your day with anxiety. You stop reaching for distractions out of habit. You start owning your tone. Your actions throughout the day begin to reflect the intention you set, because your brain remembers what it started with. This isn't forced positivity. It's internal orientation. And the beauty of it is its simplicity. It doesn't require journaling, affirmations, or elaborate morning routines. It takes less than 60 seconds. But its impact is outsized because it targets the one window of the day where your system is open to deep influence. Most people don't use that window. They waste it. They wake up into noise. They repeat thoughts from yesterday. They run scripts they didn't choose. And then they wonder why their energy crashes, why their focus scatters, or why their mood feels hijacked. When you train ignition, you reverse that cycle. You don't wait for energy, you generate it. Not through force, but through clarity. You become the first voice your brain hears. And when that voice is strong, centered, and consistent, your entire system begins to follow its lead. Now, some people worry that one phrase isn't enough, that something this simple can't actually create real change. But here's the truth. Consistency beats complexity. A clear phrase, repeated daily, becomes a mental anchor. It's a trigger, and that trigger cues your nervous system into alignment before any other input gets in. Over time, the phrase gains power. Your body starts responding to it. Your breath deepens when you think it. Your posture adjusts. Your awareness sharpens. You don't need to force action. You act because your system is already pointed in the right direction. That's the difference between reactivity and alignment. Reactivity chases energy. Alignment sets it. This one habit, done for 30 days, can outperform most self-help techniques because it deals with the actual source of momentum. The beginning, the first frame of thought, the original tone. When that tone is yours, not borrowed, not passive, not distracted, your day moves differently. You make cleaner decisions. You move faster. You recover more quickly from challenges. You keep your energy centered, even when the external world pulls in different directions. And that's the goal. Not perfection, not control, just ownership. The ability to start your day with your own signal instead of someone else's noise. So tomorrow morning, don't reach for your phone. Don't start thinking about tasks. Don't slip into default thought. Pause. Feel your breath. Bring your phrase to mind. Say it clearly. and let it shape the atmosphere of your mind before the world has a chance to touch it. The next method will show you why visualizing your goals often fails to create real change, and the adjustment that makes it actually work. The visualization glitch. Why most manifesting fails. You've been visualizing wrong, and it's not your fault. Visualization has been promoted as one of the most powerful tools for change. You've heard it everywhere, from athletes to entrepreneurs to self-help platforms. The message is simple. If you can see it in your mind, you can create it. But most people don't get results. They imagine what they want. They picture it repeatedly. They try to feel the excitement of having it. And still, nothing happens. Here's why. Most visualizations are static. They are like mental snapshots, frozen images of a perfect outcome. Someone sees themselves with the success, with the body, with the result. But it stays frozen. It doesn't breathe. It doesn't move. It doesn't create any real energetic momentum. Feels flat. And the mind doesn't believe it. When the visualization lacks motion and depth, it fails to send the proper signal through your system. You may be able to see it, but your nervous system isn't engaged. Your breath doesn't change. Your emotions don't shift. You aren't broadcasting a frequency that matches what you're imagining. You're just watching a slideshow of wishful thinking. That's not how the mind responds to reality. In real experiences, everything is layered. You don't just see events. You hear sounds. You feel textures. You smell the air. You feel the tension or the peace in your body. Those layers create a full sensory imprint. That's what makes something real to your mind. And that's what your visualization is missing. This is why dynamic visualization works better. It uses movement, emotion, and sensory input. It's not about controlling every detail. It's about stepping into a vivid moment that feels alive. When you can recreate the feeling of an experience, not just the image, you begin to shift your internal chemistry. You begin to rehearse success in a way your system actually understands. Start with this adjustment. Instead of watching yourself in the scene, place yourself inside it. That one shift changes how your brain processes the input. If you see yourself like a character on a screen, your brain interprets it as fiction. But if you place yourself in first person, looking through your own eyes, your body starts to respond as if the event is real. Now add motion. Let the scene play forward. Let it evolve. Walk through it. Touch objects. Hear ambient noise. Feel your breath. Let the scene unfold in real time. This trains your brain to link the visualization with actual neurosensory pathways, which creates stronger neural associations. Then bring in emotion, not in an exaggerated way, but in a grounded way. How does clarity feel? What's the body language of confidence? What's the breathing rhythm of calm certainty? Don't try to force excitement. That often backfires. Aim for coherence. Aim for alignment. You're not trying to impress your mind. You're trying to ground your energy in a specific steady state. Next is sensory layering. This means intentionally adding input across your sensory channels. What do you hear in the environment? What does your body feel like in that moment? What kind of temperature, weight, or texture surrounds you? What kind of language are you speaking internally? These details make the visualization real. They pull your system deeper into the frequency of the experience. Once the experience feels anchored, you can lock it in with stillness. Stop the motion. Let the final scene settle. Let your body absorb it. Let the breath hold it. This is where the shift happens, not when you're imagining, but when your system begins to rest in the emotional signature of what you just created. If you do this properly, even a 2-minute visualization can change your energy for the next hour. You leave the exercise with different chemistry. You carry that tone into the rest of your day. And from there, your decisions and your responses begin to shift. This isn't abstract. It's neuroplasticity in action. You are guiding your mind through imagined experiences that mirror the neurological patterns of real ones. And because your brain is pattern-based, it begins to favor those new circuits over the old ones. That's how you shift identity, not through willpower, but through energetic rehearsal. But there's another problem to fix. Many people sabotage their visualizations by anchoring them in tension. They try to create a perfect picture, And when their mind resists it or doubts it, they force it harder. That force creates conflict. It burns energy. And it locks the visualization in resistance instead of flow. You don't need to visualize perfection. You just need coherence. Your visualization doesn't have to be flawless. It just has to feel stable. Don't fight your mind to believe it. Let your system absorb what it can, and repeat it until the resistance softens naturally. Here's how to test whether your visualization is working. Observe how your body feels afterward. If you're more relaxed, more centered, or more focused, it worked. If you feel anxious, rigid, or exhausted, you were pushing. That's not integration. That's performance. Train this method daily. You don't need to spend long. 3 to 5 minutes is enough if you're consistent. Do it in the morning, before sleep, or between tasks when your mind is still. The timing is less important than the clarity of the experience. Over time, this practice recalibrates your baseline energy. You stop defaulting to old thought patterns. You begin to expect clarity. You begin to experience moments that match what you've rehearsed. Not through magic, but through preparation, through familiarity, through signal. You'll also notice that your visualizations evolve naturally. The more you practice, the more vivid they become. The scenes begin to carry their own rhythm. Your nervous system starts guiding the experience. You begin to feel pulled forward instead of forcing forward. That's the mark of an aligned system. No tension, no contradiction, just presence. The glitch in traditional visualization is the assumption that thought alone creates energy. It doesn't. Embodiment of thought creates energy. Thought must be felt, moved, and integrated. Otherwise, it stays flat. It stays disconnected. And no shift takes place. Once you integrate this corrected method, visualization becomes more than mental rehearsal. It becomes an energetic training ground, a way to sculpt your focus, your tone, and your emotional baseline before stepping back into the world. You don't need to believe in this process. You just need to feel its result. One session, done with full presence, will show you what your system is capable of. The next part will focus on a part of your body most people overlook. Yet it holds a direct key to unlocking intention, clarity, and real grounded energy. There's a hidden switch in your body that directly affects mental clarity and intention power. There's a part of your energy system that most people never think about. It's not in your head. It's not in your breath. It's lower, and it controls more than people realize. Your gut, your core, your base, all of these are involved in generating the kind of mental energy that doesn't just flow, but sustains itself. When this system is neglected, you can do all the right things for your mind and still feel like something's off. That's because your energy doesn't begin in the brain. It moves through the brain, but it originates in your body. And the lower part of your system, your foundation, sets the tone for whether that energy is stable or scattered. Here's what most people miss. Your gut-brain axis is not just a digestive connection. It's a feedback loop. Your brain and your gut communicate through nerves, hormones, and electrical signals. When your gut is out of sync, your thinking gets cloudy. Your emotional regulation weakens. Your ability to focus drops. But this isn't just about biology. It's about energetic grounding. The lower center of your body, what some traditions refer to as your root or sacral center, serves as a physical and energetic base. It holds tension. It stores signals. It stabilizes emotion. When this part of your system is inactive or blocked, your energy rises into your head and stays there. You overthink. You disconnect from the body. You lose the ability to stabilize your thoughts. This is why grounding matters. Grounding isn't symbolic. It's functional. It means bringing awareness, breath, and stillness into the base of your system. It means shifting your energy downward, not to reduce your power, but to stabilize it. Like building a foundation before raising a structure. You don't need mystical language to understand this. Just pay attention to what happens when you're anxious or overwhelmed. Your breath rises. Your shoulders tense. Your energy moves upward. That creates mental noise and physical discomfort. Grounding does the opposite. It brings your awareness back into the body. It restores balance. There's a quick practice that resets this balance. It's called the root-to-mind grounding ritual. takes 5 minutes, and when done correctly, it clears energetic confusion almost instantly. Start by sitting or standing still. Let your awareness settle in your body. Don't try to change your breath yet. Just notice where your attention naturally goes. For most people, it sits in the chest or the head. That's fine. Now slowly begin to lower that awareness. Move it down, past the chest, past the stomach, down toward your pelvis and hips. Feel your weight. Feel the pull of gravity. Let your breath begin to slow as you rest your focus in that area. This isn't about thinking. It's about sensing. Once your attention is centered low in the body, begin breathing into it. Visualize the breath entering through your nose, moving downward, and expanding into your lower belly and hips. Let that breath settle and slow. Let each exhale release tension. Stay with this for several rounds. Now begin to imagine that your awareness is drawing energy from the ground beneath you. Not as a fantasy, but as a directional cue. Energy flows where attention goes. So as you hold focus on the base of your body, your nervous system begins to receive the message. This is home. This is foundation. This is center. As you continue, you may feel warmth, pressure, or stillness. These are good signs. They indicate your body is coming into regulation. You're no longer spinning energy in your head. You're stabilizing it at the base. After a few minutes of this, bring your breath and attention up again, this time moving from the base toward the center of your chest, then up to the forehead. Move slowly. Don't rush the process. This upward sweep of attention connects the grounded base with the thinking mind. You're not escaping your body, you're integrating the entire system. This process creates coherence. Your nervous system begins working as a unified whole, not as fragmented zones of stress and overactivation. Your focus sharpens. Your emotions settle. Your clarity returns. Repeat this practice daily, especially in moments of tension, distraction, or mental fog. It becomes your reset switch, a way to bring energy back into alignment when everything feels disconnected. Now, here's where modern science catches up with ancient wisdom. In recent years, research has confirmed the critical role of the gut-brain axis in emotional regulation, cognitive performance, and decision-making. The vagus nerve, which connects your brainstem to multiple organs, including your gut, is responsible for sending information upward. When your gut is in distress, your brain receives that signal. When your gut is calm and engaged, the brain relaxes. This mirrors what ancient systems have said for centuries. That power and clarity begin with stability. That energy cannot rise cleanly unless it is grounded. That trying to expand mental capacity without securing the physical base will always create imbalance. You don't need to follow any belief system to access this. You just need to train your awareness downward. Breathe into the places you normally ignore. Feel the parts of your body that don't get attention. Stop letting your mind dominate the entire system. Because when your base is strong, your thoughts gain weight. Your presence becomes centered. Your actions carry more force. This is not theoretical. Try this before a meeting, before a decision, before a moment that requires composure. You'll notice the difference immediately. You stop reaching upward to find power. You realize it starts below, rises through, and then channels out. That's what integration means. Too many people live with floating energy. They overthink. They overanalyze. They carry mental noise that isn't anchored to anything. This makes energy unstable. It makes intention weak. Creates mental fatigue without clear cause. The grounding ritual stops that pattern. It reminds the system where center is. And once that center is active, your energy becomes a resource, not a burden. This technique is not flashy. It's not a shortcut, but it is effective because it trains your system to operate as one body, breath, focus, and attention all moving in the same direction. That's what clarity is. Not just mental sharpness, but energetic cohesion. The next method builds on this idea by showing you how sound affects your mind instantly, either charging your system or draining it without you noticing. The wrong sounds can drain your willpower, but the right ones can supercharge your mental state. You're surrounded by sound every day. Music, voices, traffic, background noise. You hear it, but you rarely realize what it's doing to your energy. That's because sound doesn't just enter your ears. It enters your nervous system, it affects your brainwave patterns, changes your mood, and over time it shapes your default state of mind. Most people ignore this. They treat sound as neutral, as background, but there's nothing neutral about it. Certain sounds exhaust you, others sharpen you, and once you understand how sound affects your system, you stop treating it casually. Your brain operates in frequencies, electrical patterns. These patterns shift depending on your mental state. When you're alert and active, your brain runs in beta. When you're calm and reflective, it drops into alpha. When you're dreaming, it moves to theta. These states aren't just categories, they are measurable frequencies. And sound can move you between them. That's the power of intentional audio. Not entertainment, not distraction. Real tools that shift your system in real time. Let's get specific. There are 3 primary sound states that influence your energy output: alpha, beta, and theta. Alpha frequencies promote calm awareness. They're perfect for learning, resetting during stress, and restoring balance when you feel scattered. These are the frequencies that mirror the brain's relaxed, alert state, like the mental atmosphere you experience during a peaceful walk or quiet focus without pressure. Beta frequencies are linked to focus and active problem solving. They increase energy and engagement. This is your go-to zone for executing tasks, organizing ideas, and making decisions. But stay in beta too long without breaks, and you risk mental fatigue or anxiety. Theta frequencies open up creativity and intuition. This is the dream space, the space where breakthroughs occur. Theta is also useful during visualization, identity work, and mental rewiring because it opens the subconscious in a way no surface-level thinking can. When you listen to sounds that mirror these brainwave states, like binaural beats, solfeggio tones, or other frequency-based tools, your brain begins to sync up. That's called brainwave entrainment. And it's not guesswork. It's observable. You don't need to rely on your mood to guide your mental state. You can use sound to set it. That's where energy starts to shift, when you become the one directing the atmosphere of your own mind. Now, here's the problem. Most people unknowingly surround themselves with sounds that keep them locked in tension. The hum of traffic, the buzz of electronics, the noise of notifications. Even some types of music train the nervous system to stay reactive. Fast beats, chaotic rhythms, disharmonious layers. These create agitation, not energy. They activate stress, not clarity. That's not fuel. That's friction. So if your mind constantly feels tired or unfocused, don't just look at your habits. Look at your sound environment. What are you feeding your nervous system through your ears? Here's how to turn that around. Use sound as a tool, not just for entertainment, but for alignment. You choose the frequency based on what your system needs. Need to calm and recenter? Use alpha. Need to focus and move? Use beta. Need to tap into creativity or depth? Use theta. Let's look at 3 tools you can start using right now. First, binaural beats. These work by sending slightly different frequencies to each ear. Your brain processes the difference between those frequencies as a third internal tone. That internal tone is what entrains your brainwaves. Choose tracks that match the frequency you want to enter. Use headphones for full effect. And keep the volume moderate. It's not about loudness. It's about frequency. Second, solfeggio tones. These are pure tone frequencies that have been used in sound healing traditions for centuries. Each tone is said to correspond to a different mental or emotional effect. For example, 528 Hz is associated with clarity and transformation. 396 Hz with release. 639 Hz with connection. You don't need to memorize all of them. Just test and observe. Your body will tell you what resonates. Third, ambient focus soundscapes. These are sound environments specifically designed to eliminate distraction while keeping your nervous system relaxed but alert. Think deep, layered textures with low rhythms and subtle transitions. No lyrics, no abrupt changes. Just a clean, stable sound floor that holds your attention without overwhelming it. Start using one of these tools during your work sessions, meditation time, creative flow. or even just when resetting between tasks. Keep the environment consistent. Let your nervous system associate those sounds with clarity. Over time, those associations become automatic. Just turning on the track shifts your system into gear. But don't just add sound, remove noise. That's just as important. Cut unnecessary audio inputs. Turn off random background media. Use silence with purpose. You don't always need stimulation. Sometimes your brain needs space. Noise isn't always loud. Can be subtle, constant, and draining. Create silence strategically. Let your system breathe. Now here's the deeper layer. When your auditory input is aligned with your intention, your system works more efficiently. You stop fighting against background agitation. You stop forcing focus. You create a soundscape that matches your energy target, and your nervous system follows without resistance. This is a real-time feedback loop. The right sound sharpens the mind. The sharpened mind uses energy more efficiently. That efficiency prevents burnout. And the absence of burnout keeps you consistent. You don't need dozens of tracks. You don't need a library of tools. Find 3 that work, 1 for calm, 1 for focus, 1 for creativity. Use them regularly. Train your system to recognize them. Let them become part of your mental gear. You're not just listening. You're tuning. You're adjusting the signal your brain is running on. And that signal determines whether your day feels scattered or smooth, distracted or deliberate. This isn't abstract. You can test it. Take 2 days, 1 with intentional sound use, 1 without. Compare the quality of your focus, your energy, and your emotional control. The difference won't be subtle. Once you realize how sound shapes your mind, you stop leaving it to chance. You take control of the atmosphere inside your own head. And once that atmosphere is clear, the next technique becomes even more powerful, because it uses your own reflection to reprogram the way you see yourself. The 1-minute mirror technique that rewires identity. What if the way you look at yourself is the biggest block to your energy? You can practice breath work. You can use sound. You can sharpen your focus, seal mental leaks, and even visualize outcomes in high definition. But if your internal identity doesn't shift, those practices will always be working against a wall. Most people don't realize this. They carry an outdated self-image into every new habit. They try to become clear while still holding onto an identity that was built during their foggiest moments. They try to act with energy while still seeing themselves as someone who struggles, someone inconsistent, someone half-switched on. That's the hidden block. Energy flows where identity allows it. If your system still associates you with patterns from the past, it will resist the upgrades you're trying to create. Not out of sabotage, but out of habit. Identity is sticky, and it doesn't shift with logic. It shifts through signal. And that signal starts with how you see yourself, literally. You see your face in the mirror every day. But most of that time, it's passive. It's rushed. It's functional. You check your appearance. You make sure nothing looks off. You move on. But that interaction, brief as it is, carries weight. It reinforces who you think you are. Here's the problem. Most people meet their own reflection with judgment, pressure, or detachment. They stare blankly. They assess flaws. They repeat internal scripts they aren't even conscious of. And over time, that mirror becomes a reinforcement of limitation, not power. But this can be reversed. There is a technique, fast, awkward, and strangely powerful, that interrupts those old scripts and begins to install new ones. It's called the mirror interruption. The process takes less than a minute. You stand in front of a mirror. You look yourself directly in the eyes. And you speak to yourself. Not casually, not critically, but with full attention. Not affirmations. Not fake motivation. A clear, present statement of identity. Here's what makes it work. It creates a short circuit in your usual pattern. When you speak to yourself while looking into your own eyes, your nervous system gets involved. Your self-perception is challenged. You feel the tension of breaking a pattern, and that tension makes the moment stick. It might feel strange. It might feel forced. That's a sign it's working. You're interrupting something deep, something automatic, something that has gone unexamined for years. Start with one line. One phrase that contradicts the identity you're trying to shed and installs the one you're trying to embody. It could be as simple as, "You are focused," or "You move with power," or "You are clear now." Not a wish, not a future goal. A current state spoken like a fact. Hold eye contact while you say it. Don't rush. Don't look away. Say it like you mean it, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Especially then. This works because the combination of self-directed voice, visual feedback, and emotional tension creates a strong neurological imprint. Your system registers the moment as real. And when repeated daily, that imprint strengthens into a new default. Here's what happens next. You start to feel a subtle shift in how you carry yourself. Your tone changes. Your posture adjusts. Your decisions become faster. Your energy has a new base signal, and that signal filters into your habits automatically. You stop identifying as the version of you who struggles to focus. You stop reinforcing the narrative that you're inconsistent. You stop holding onto a self-image that was built during periods of low energy or high stress. Because you're giving your system a new reference point. One it can see. One it can hear. One it has no choice but to respond to. This method is not symbolic. It's mechanical. It uses the sensory input of sight and sound to overwrite patterns that live deep in your nervous system. You're not just thinking differently. You're broadcasting a different identity into your own awareness. That's why it works so quickly. The moment you see and hear yourself aligned, your system begins to adapt. The gap between who you were and who you're becoming closes slightly. Then it closes more the next day, and more the day after. But repetition is key. One round won't do much. 30 days in a row creates a shift you can feel. Not because the phrase becomes magic, but because your brain stops rejecting it. Your system starts accepting it. It becomes familiar, and familiarity breeds belief. Most transformation methods skip this part. They focus on behavior and technique without addressing identity. But if the old self-image is still active, it quietly filters everything. It turns upgrades into effort. It makes change exhausting. The mirror interruption cuts through that resistance. It rewrites the filter. And when that filter updates, everything downstream moves more smoothly. No one has to see you do this. You don't have to perform. This isn't for others. It's a private, direct reset of how you relate to yourself. Do it in the morning before distraction sets in. Or at night when the mind is quiet. But don't skip it because it feels awkward. Awkwardness is a sign you're pushing against old programming. And that's where change begins. This is about access. You're accessing a version of you that already exists, the one who operates with energy, focus, and direction. You're pulling that version forward. You're giving it a signal to take control. And once it does, the shift isn't temporary. It's structural. You begin to see results that match the identity you've installed. Not because you're forcing action, but because the energy behind the action has changed. You've stopped running outdated code. You've started broadcasting something new, something aligned. That's the real function of this method. It doesn't make you someone else. It clears the noise so you can actually be who you already are, without the static, without the old patterns, without the low-frequency reinforcement that used to start your day. All it takes is 1 minute, one phrase, one moment of presence in front of the mirror. And when that becomes consistent, it becomes the most direct access point to a new mental baseline. This completes the full energy reset system. The final key to transforming how your mind operates is not external. It never was. It's internal alignment, activated through small, repeatable actions that change your system from the inside out. You've now seen the truth behind what most people miss. That energy isn't some abstract idea. It's not vague. It's not mystical. It's not reserved for a select few who meditate on mountains or chase spiritual trends. It's biological. It's neurological. And it's already wired into your system. Your mind was designed to operate with far more power than most people ever access. The systems are already there: attention, breath, frequency, grounding, identity. But for most, those systems are either inactive, misused, or ignored completely. You've now learned how to switch them back on. You know how your energy leaks through mental loops you've left open for too long. You've seen how shallow, erratic breathing keeps you locked in stress and how a controlled pattern can restore focus in under 2 minutes. You've learned how just 17 seconds of deliberate thought can shift your mental frequency and why the first thought of your day decides the rest of it. You've corrected the flaw in visualization, replacing still mental images with real sensory experiences that your brain can actually respond to. You've turned your attention back to the body, waking up the forgotten base of your system so energy can rise with clarity instead of chaos. You've begun to use sound not for stimulation, but for precision, tuning your brain into the frequencies that match your intention. And you've discovered how the way you look at yourself, in the mirror each day, sets the limit or unleashes the potential of every effort you make. This is not a toolkit built on trends. This is not about mindset hacks. These are not rituals for people who want to feel good for a few minutes and then fall back into the same fog. These are functional resets, and they work when you work them. You don't need to apply all 8 techniques at once. Start with one. The one that hits the hardest. The one that exposes something you know you've been neglecting. Practice it. Test it. Let your own results show you what's real. Because this isn't about motivation. It's about energy alignment. It's about restoring function. Your energy doesn't need to come from outside sources. It's built in. It's in your breath, in your posture, in your attention, in the signals you send your own nervous system all day long. You are not broken. You are not missing something. You've just been unplugged from the systems that fuel the very clarity you've been searching for. But now you know where to look. Now you know how to activate what's already there. So take one of these techniques, just one, and put it into your real life. Not for a week. Not until you get bored. But until it becomes part of your baseline. Until your system starts choosing energy instead of burning through it. That's the shift. That's the win. That's the beginning of momentum you can actually trust.